The kitten had been in the cage for only an hour and he'd already pulled his pink leg bandage off. That didn't last long. His leg looked fine though, so we decided to keep it off. We took his cone of shame off so he could have a drink and something to eat. One thing was for sure, him having surgery hadn't dampened his appetite at all. After he'd finished eating, we put the cone back on and said goodnight to him. We patted the cat, said goodnight to her too, and then put her to bed as well. The next morning, the kitten was up bright and early. He mewed at us to let him out. I pulled the cone down so he could have a drink. Then I let the cat out of the bathroom. I showed her that her kitten was okay, and honestly, she didn't seem worried in the slightest. The kitten kept mewing as he wanted to get out of the cage. He was full of energy and he needed to burn it off. He really was acting like nothing had happened, and if he didn't notice that his bum was shaved, you wouldn't have known he'd just had surgery. So we decided to let him out for a play and see how he went. We made sure that one of us was constantly watching both him and the cat, as the vet had said we needed to keep them separated. We had to ensure that the cat didn't touch his bum, as that could cause an infection and we definitely didn't want that to happen. After a bit of play, we put the kitten back in the cage for a nap. The cat decided to have a nap with him and she laid down on the table that was right next to the cage. It was quite heartwarming to see. The kitten had also done this when the cat had her surgery. It was nice to see their close bond. Letting the kitten out of the cage to have a play seemed to work really well, so we continued to do this for the rest of the week. We'd know when it was time to let him out, as he'd either constantly meow at us or he'd start climbing the cage walls to show us he was going crazy and he needed to stretch his legs. During the week, we found a YouTube channel that shows close-up videos of birds eating seeds and flying away. We thought this would be the perfect cat TV for the kitten for those times when he was stuck inside the cage. And you know what? He loved it. He loved it so much he'd sit and watch it even when we let him out of the cage and he could have been playing with his mum. The cat also enjoyed these bird videos, as she'd never seen anything like it before. If you want to play some cat TV for your cats, I've put the address for these videos in the description box below. Sometimes when the kitten played with his mum, he'd be a bit too rough with her. You can see that in this video where he bites her ear. When she'd had enough, she jumped off that cat tree and hid under the dining table. I decided to put him back in the cage. She paid him back for it though by jumping on top of the cage and lying down. She seemed to be teasing him by letting him know that she was free to roam the house while he was stuck in the cage. Maybe he'll learn from this and not be so rough with her from now on. The next time I let the kitten out of the cage, he jumped on top of it himself. I don't think he realised he could get up there previously until he'd seen his mum up there. He liked it so much he decided to have a nap. It looked like the most uncomfortable place for anyone to have a sleep. He didn't even notice there was a blanket right next to him that he could have laid on top of. What a funny cat. One night, our kids were having another sleepover at Grandma's house. The kitten was in the cage for the night as usual, so we decided that we'd let the cat have the opportunity to roam free in our house all night. I was interested to see what she would do. My husband was working in the study, so I decided to watch a movie in bed. I wondered if she'd come and pay me a visit. I always go to sleep before my husband, so I knew if she did visit me, she'd probably leave when my husband came to bed. Her relationship with my husband was getting better every day, but she still didn't quite trust him yet. About halfway through the movie, she jumped on my bed and meowed at me. She then rolled over, had a big stretch and acted like she'd done this 1,000,000 times before. No big deal. She was very comfortable. And I have to say, it is quite nice having a cat on your bed to pat. She decided to stay well after the movie had finished and I had fallen asleep myself. And as predicted, when my husband came to bed, she left the room. In the morning, we'd found her asleep on the couch next to the kitten's cage. What a good mum. The week went by really quickly, and before the kitten knew it, he was back sleeping in the bathroom with his mum. All was good. Except it was starting to get annoying that we didn't have access to the girls' bathroom as it was completely taken over by the cats. My husband and I discussed where else we could put them at night time. We'd originally thought about making a space for them in the garage, but we didn't want the connecting door to be constantly left open. It'd also be too hard to not let the cats escape whenever we left the house in the car. After much consideration, we decided to build a catio. For those of you who don't know what a catio is, we've only just heard of them ourselves. It's an outdoor area made especially for domestic cats so they can play outside safely and not escape. We found the perfect spot for it. The living room has 2 sliding doors. One we used all the time to get to the outside patio. The other was very rarely used, especially now that we had our sofa bed right next to it. We could build a catio right up to the door and it would sit flush against the rest of the house. Perfect. Stay tuned for the next video where my husband builds our catio for under $100. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It's free, but it'll really help our channel out. You can also hit the like button and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.